Hello, and thanks for joining us for Prepped and Polished Education and Inspiration. I'm your host, Alexis Avila, educator, online entrepreneur, and founder of tutoring and test prep firm Prepped and Polished, broadcasting today from beautiful South Natick, Massachusetts. Prepped and Polished Education and Inspiration is your destination for groundbreaking insight from today's most influential educators, leaders, and minds on the planet. Our show is brought to you today by Wilsey Connections. My friend Pam Wilsey is a therapist for moms and teens and rolled out a new program for graduating seniors called Freshman 2.0 College Bound to help ease the transition into college. Check out wilseyconnections.com for more info. Our show is also brought to you today by Plan for College Videos. College planning expert Paul Hemphill has a wonderful series of college planning videos, over 100 of them. His videos ask all the questions with answers that parents don't know to ask. Parents don't know what they don't know. The frustration ends with his videos. To learn more, go to www.planning-for-college.com/videos. And get to know the Prepped and Polished community. You can find us on Facebook at Prepped and Polished, as well as on Twitter at Prepped Polished. And thank you to everyone for tuning in. Joining our show today is Chris Herren. Chris is a former NBA basketball player, speaker, and founder of the Herren Project. Chris played college basketball at Boston College and Fresno State. He was drafted as the 33rd pick of the 1999 NBA draft, and Chris played for both the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics before drug addiction forced him out of the NBA. After a heroin overdose, Chris did 9 months of recovery and eventually bounced back and started a movement to speak to and empower over 500,000 kids and help keep them off drugs. Chris tells his unbelievable story in his autobiography, Basketball Junkie, a Memoir. Then, in 2011, started the Herren Project, which provides assistance in taking the first steps towards recovery and life of sobriety, and provides educational programs and resources to increase awareness on the signs of addiction and bring hope for a better tomorrow. We are grateful to have Chris Herren on our show. Chris is going to share with us the empowering work he does working with kids and keeping them sober and healthy. To our listeners, you can submit a question at any time, radio@preppedandpolished.com. We always appreciate hearing from you. Chris, thank you so much for joining us on Prepped and Polished Education and Inspiration. How are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So my friend Scott Johnson in Fresno, California, has got a sports podcast called Grape State Sports Podcast. He asked me to tell you that George Takata says hi and go Bulldogs.
Yeah. George Takata's a good dude.
Okay, cool. So, Chris, welcome to the Boston Marathon family. I saw that you finished the Boston Marathon this year. I ran this year as well, sort of a redemption after not being able to finish last year.
Nice.
What was the hardest part of the marathon for you, and what was it like for you to cross that finish line and get that medal placed around your neck?
It was amazing. Couldn't have participated in a more special year. It's just the symbolism behind it was emotional, but to do it with a childhood friend of mine, to run for the Herren Project and raise money for people struggling with addiction, the whole package was just extremely empowering and actually spiritual to a certain extent. It was just to see all the people on the sidelines and just to cross that line was amazing.
That's awesome. Please share with us a little bit about your background, Chris. Can you focus on a couple of the pivotal moments that brought you to this moment now as a motivational speaker, inspirational leader, empowering thousands and thousands of kids nationwide?
Yeah, it's all about sharing your story. It's all about sharing your struggle. You know, I truly believe that, you know, people who struggle have amazing potential and strength within them. And I believe you only can dig into that by sharing, and by talking about the struggle. So, you know, kids when I speak see me and they feel, they see the transparency, they see the honesty, and they say, well, you know, this guy isn't full of it, so maybe I can walk down to my guidance department and talk about how I cut myself, and talk about how I'm taking too many pills with my friends.
Right.
You know, I mean, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, you know, when I look at your videos of your speeches, I don't think I've ever seen a teen audience just like, it doesn't matter like what, you know, if you're popular, you know, outcast, they're all looking at you.
Yeah, you know, and the thing is, you know, a lot of times when I walk into schools, principals will say, you know, all the athletes are right up front. They got there early. They want to sit close and listen. And I say to the principal, by the end of it, all kids will be up front, and all kids would want to participate, because struggle. You know, I mean, my struggle, although extreme, is really no different than the 15-year-old who takes a razor blade and slices their skin open.
Right.
Because that's the only struggle they know. You know, obviously, can it get worse? Of course. But for now, that's the only struggle that they can identify with, and it hurts them. Just like my struggle hurt me and many others around me. So I think that's what kids identify with. I think that's what kids see. And, you know, I just walked out of Amesbury High School, and, you know, when I walked out of there, the kids looked like they were in shock. Because after speaking to 500,000 kids and over the last 4 years, I've tried to find a way in, and it took me a while, but, you know, I think it all stems from on Fridays and Saturday nights having to change yourself, and why being you is not enough. How come you have to walk into house parties afraid? How come insecurities drive us to substances? And I think that's what we've now become, a society that accepts that. A society that medicates, and, you know, we've kind of looked the other way for kids to say, well, they're kids will be kids. Well, kids don't have to get drunk and wasted to be kids. You know, I mean, that shouldn't be part of childhood.
Exactly. We might be jumping around just a little bit, but I have one question. It's kind of maybe like a personal question for me, but, you know, what was one of your best memories you've had during your playing years as a Celtic, Boston Celtic?
No good memories.
No good memories. Okay.
No. I was struggling as much as you can struggle as a Celtic. You know, obviously now what's happened is you know, recovery can put a silver lining in everything. And for many years, I was embarrassed to ever be a Celtic because how I was when I was playing for them. You know, now I'm grateful for it because it's given me a voice. It's given me a platform, given me a chance to tell the story to many, many, many kids out there. So that's my best memory of Celtic, is that, you know, my hard work that I did as a kid didn't pay off as a professional basketball player, but it paid off because it's allowed me to speak and allowed me to share in hopes of making a difference.
In your ESPN 30/30 documentary that I saw last night, you did have a moment where a good memory playing for the Denver Nuggets when you said that Nick Van Exel and Antonio McDyess pulled you aside and kind of took care of you and watched you for that year. That was really touching.
Yeah, they all did. I mean, that was a great team. You know, I had teammates like Popeye Jones, who's now an assistant coach with, I believe he's the assistant with the Pacers now. Roy Rogers, who's an assistant coach with the Brooklyn Nets. George McLeod, who works for the Sacramento Kings. Antonio McDyess, Nick Van Exel, who's an assistant coach in Toronto. So we had a lot of guys out there in Denver that, were veterans and wanted to help the young guys. And they definitely circled the wagons on me, and it was special.
That's awesome. Chris, there are people I know, and I'm sure we all know, whose battle with drugs has been a constant struggle. As soon as it seems like they beat the addiction, they dive right back into drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. How did you jump out of this proverbial hamster wheel, Chris? How did you overcome your addictions and better your life?
I was treated effectively. I stayed in treatment for almost 9 months. Sometimes, it's a lot to ask of someone who's sick to be cured in 4 days.
Right.
That's a lot to ask. I mean, that the expectations are too high. And as a society, I believe we should be ashamed of ourselves for putting that expectation on people who are sick. Like, I'm going to give you 4 to 7 days to fix a problem, get it right, and if you don't get it right, I'm never going to talk to you again.
Right.
We don't do that to people with diabetes and hypertension. This is an illness, and it's not going to be fixed in 4 days. It's not going to be fixed in 7 days. And if it is, it's quite frankly, a miracle, and it doesn't happen often. So we have to invest more time into the treatment side of this. We have to give people a chance to recover, to forgive themselves, and work through what they've gone through. And then we won't see the hamster wheel, and it won't be as prevalent.
Exactly. Gotcha. And another thing from your 30/30 ESPN documentary is at the drug rehab center that really where you turned it around. You were assigned to wash dishes in a small pot sink area. You said this little pot sink room that you were in from like morning till night scrubbing dishes was just a time for you to reflect and gain some clarity. And it sounds like that was a turnaround point for you just in that dishwashing room.
Yeah, I think it's easy for all of us to be distracted. I think it's easy for anyone to not really look within and take the time to see where we're at in life, and if it's in line with where we want to be or go. And I was stuck in that room. I was stuck in there for over 20 days, and nobody to talk to. People weren't allowed to talk to me. So I had nobody but myself to look at and talk to and reflect. And, that was definitely a moment of clarity for me, and, I'm grateful for it.
Once you really started turning things around, you started coaching basketball. And you said that you loved coaching and thought every kid deserves to play and feel good. Chris, what's been the most rewarding aspect of your work speaking and working with kids?
It's just all about self-esteem building,
Definitely.
Listen, that's always a work in progress for everybody.
Right.
We all don't wake up every day saying, wow, I feel great about myself. I think we all have defects of character, and we all have to work on something. So, when I was working with kids in the gym, it was all about them leaving with a smile on their face, working hard, but accomplishing a goal and knowing that, it was worth coming.
When I look at you, I see a stud in high school playing ball, and it seemed like you just had it all, and you had the self-confidence. But did you, Chris, have you struggled with self-confidence?
I think everybody does.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that's the journey.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, especially when I talk to professional groups or college athletes, that we're always worried about our opponent. Our greatest opponent is ourselves.
Right.
In life. Nobody's going to hurt you more. Nobody's going to hit you harder than you hit yourself. And I think that's the journey that we're on. And that's the journey that never ends. And I believe that's why, it's it's always one day at a time.
Absolutely. Chris, the bridge from teenage to young adulthood is an exciting time, but it's a difficult road to cross in one's life, especially at that time right before college. To any teen who may be listening to us today, what piece of advice would you have for him and her?
You know, I think it's all about finding within yourself to really challenge yourself to be who you are.
Okay.
You know, it's when I talk to teens and when I talk to kids and I say, how come Friday and Saturday night seeing you is not enough? I think that resonates. I think when I say to teens, looking back, I wish I never had to change myself. You know, I wish I didn't have substances in my body when I was a teenager to make me feel like I was, like, tougher or bigger or better. You know, I always admired those kids. You know, although we kind of laughed at them and
right.
and looked at them funny and didn't think they were like us, I always knew in my heart, in my head, that, you know, there was something special, and they had something that I didn't, and I knew there was something missing about me, because I just couldn't understand how they didn't need it. And that's I think that's what every kid needs to look at.
And this is kind of how your Project Purple initiative kind of was conceived, because there was a couple girls in the front row of one of your speeches with purple shirts. People might have been laughing at them, and they wanted us. You know, they were basically taking a stand against drugs and alcohol, which is totally not cool if you're in high school. And you actually made a point that they were heroes, and Project Purple came about, right?
Yeah, no doubt. You know, I think those kids need more recognition. You know, I think those kids have amazing fortitude and integrity and guts, and I think those kids need to be recognized more. You know, it's not easy being a kid. It's not easy growing up in 2014 with social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. It's hard. It's hard to always be on your game. It's hard to always, you know, be behaved and I wouldn't want to be a kid today. I wouldn't want to grow up how these kids are growing up. And so for the kids that can do it the right way, you know, I applaud them. Yeah,
no, I hear you. I mean, you're only 2 months older than I am, so I mean, it was a different time when we grew up.
Yeah. You know, and it's, you know, these kids have substances that are much more powerful than I ever had.
Oh, really?
You know, a painkiller was a Vicodin, not a Perk 30. You know, so these kids have, you know, they have more at their, you know, there's much more substances out there that they have access to. I mean, I didn't have Adderall when I was a kid to abuse. You know, I mean, we drank bad beer and smoked cigarettes.
Right.
The weed we smoked was like dirt weed. We didn't have, you know, kush weed and all that high-powered marijuana, and the pills were much more less potent. So these kids, they got it. They don't have it easy, that's for sure.
All right, it's almost like they're growing up faster than we did or something.
Yeah.
Chris, Anita Mom sent me this question this morning, and she wanted to ask, Chris, what do you think of the impact of opiate addictions on families, and where can families turn to for support and help?
You know, there's, you know, Al-Anon, you know, Al-Anon, Alateen. I mean, those organizations are fabulous for families.
Okay.
You know, but I think we need to be, I think people need to get more involved and fight this and stand up for it and, you know, recognize it and forget about the guilt, shame that goes along with it. Let's treat it as an illness, someone's sick. And I think once we do that, I think, you know, we can start working towards, you know, a healthier community, healthier families. But I don't think this is ever going to change until people are tired of, tired enough that they don't want to watch loved ones, suffer anymore. And it's a call to action, and that's what it's going to take. It's going to take fighting insurance companies and politicians and people to, offer more services for families and for their loved ones who are sick.
And that's a perfect transition, Chris, because you've clearly started a movement to put up a good fight and also heal and help build these communities that you're talking about. How can we find you, Chris, and donate to your foundations and programs?
You can go to the heronproject.org. We also have Go Project Purple, and we have fundraisers, and we have Spartan races, and people run on our behalf or cycle, swim on our behalf. There's all kinds of ways to get involved with this, and we started this a little over 3 years ago, and it's been remarkable, the support that we've had on this journey.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Chris. I watched the 30/30 documentary on ESPN last night. It brought a tear to my eye. I'm so appreciative that you're still with us and able to inspire kids and to keep them staying strong and sober. So we appreciate.
Thank you, brother.
Thanks so much, man. We appreciate you coming on. You too.
Right.
And this wraps up our show today with Chris Herren, former NBA pro, speaker, and founder of the Herren Project, as well as Project Purple and Hoop Dreams. To learn more about Chris and the Herren Foundation and donate to his foundation, then please visit www.theherrenproject.org, and there are 2 R's in Herren. Also, if you want to get blown away by Chris's unbelievable story, I watched it last night. Watch his ESPN 30/30 documentary. It's called Unguarded. I found it on YouTube, and I hear you can also get it on Netflix. Thank you for joining us on Prepped and Polished Education and Inspiration.